In this self-knit bubbly baba dee doo doo. Greetings, listeners all around the world. You're listening to the Uniquilibrium podcast by Hypno-Athletics, exercising your mind. I'm your host and guide, Hakeem Alibokus Alexander, and I'll be talking about all things metaphysical, hypnosis, and meditation for relaxation, sleep, lucid dreaming, and beyond. Get ready. Here we go. All right, a little bit of background there. Music. This is going to be this is self-defense and counterattacks against extraterrestrial space aliens. Yes, that's right. Self-defense and counterattacks against extraterrestrial space aliens. So I had started a couple of podcasts before, and all three of these different ones, this is part 3 in a way. The first one was called How to Assassinate Extraterrestrial Space Alien Kidnappers, Abductors, and Infiltrators. I'm not even sure what I called it, but something like that. I'll have a link to it in this podcast player, and the info for this. And also for part 2, where I was just calling it Assassinating Extraterrestrial Space Aliens, and at the end I tagged it with Metatron, as in Metatron's cube, as in the Archangel Metatron, because there's Metatron's cube is part of sacred geometry, whereas this sacred geometry tool, Metatron's cube, can be used for so many different purposes. A lot of people use it for clearing out negative energy and negative thoughts and helping them to replace it with more productive and progressive and healthy thinking. So it's a metaphysical tool, and you can best utilize it through meditation and self-hypnosis and different things like that. But I'm going to be talking about how to use it for attacks and counterattacks against extraterrestrial space aliens. And first with a little bit of self-defense. And you can listen to the other two. Like I said, there are going to be links to them in this series, if I may say so. It's a little series, and the last one, part 2 that I was doing, I was recording just about 24 hours ago. Let me see, where are my devices? What time is it? So it's November 19th. It hasn't been quite 24 hours yet. It's only just half past midnight right now. And it got cut off when I started getting into the self-defense part. As soon as I started talking about exactly what to get into self-defense, the equipment that I was using a Zoom H6, a Zoom H6 recorder for the microphone, and it has really amazing sound. I'm sad that somehow it just crapped out. There's like some kind of issue. It just kind of stops recording and makes a crazy noise in the headphones. You don't hear it in the recording, the podcast recording, but the headphones, I mean, it makes a horrible sound. I don't know what it is. I got to get it repaired, but I just got another microphone that I'm trying out, and it has a lot more noise in it than I would like. That's why I'm actually using, if you can hear, of course you can hear in the background in this mix, there's one of the binaural beats and isochronic tones that I created. It's in the background, hopefully to offset some of the noise. It's called Hana no Seishin, which is the spirit of the flower spirit. It's another one I made for my podcast called DemiPhase, which is dedicated to me taking journeys into the realm of souls, or the land of spirits, or the bardo, whatever space it is that human beings go when they depart this life, when people die. And so anyway, let's get on with this. I don't want to take too long. Let's get on with the self-defense and counterattacks against extraterrestrial space aliens. So first, a little background, if you don't want to listen to the other two. Why self-defense against extraterrestrial space aliens? Well, because my microphone's a little hot. Why self-defense against extraterrestrial space aliens? Well, because I'll speak for myself, but I've had several close encounters with extraterrestrials, and 98% of those encounters have been decidedly negative. And if you look at, and since I started researching into alien abduction and close encounters, a lot of them are not negative. They're very invasive. They're very intrusive. I mean, it's called alien abduction. I mean, if someone abducts a child, that's serious business, right? So if these aliens, these extraterrestrials are abducting people, it's, you're taking people away either against their will or unknowingly, like, people are being drugged somehow. I'm going to use the word drugged. Or somehow, some other way incapacitated with some type of technology that allows the extraterrestrials to take people, human beings, away without them knowing, and then subsequently implanting false memories or implanting a dreamlike state to where people believe that they're dreaming. They give it a dreamlike quality. That's a better way to say it, is that the cloaking device, the cloaking scheme that these extraterrestrials use to, one of the things that they use to help them to help people forget, so that people don't know that they've been abducted, is part of it is giving the memory of what's happening a dreamlike quality. It's like sometimes it's called a screen memory. It's a screen memory. And so people think that they've had a dream of some kind, probably not a dream of being abducted by aliens, but some other dream, maybe a nightmare dream, something that matches the emotional feeling that they had if they became conscious or aware that they were being abducted and experimented on while it was happening. Then the aliens create a screen memory that matches the feeling that the person had. Because, if one of the things that helps people to remember and helps people to take action, and one thing that's very powerful in motivation, and also that I use with my clinical hypnosis clients, is to attach memory to emotion, or attaching a specific kind of emotion to a thought or an idea in order to motivate. And so, without getting too much into that, just back to the screen and the cloaking device that the aliens use. They use emotions coupled with a screen memory. Because if a person if you just think about it yourself, if you become aware, if you wake up in the middle of some experience that you've been abducted by aliens or not, right? Somebody drugs you, knocks you out, and you wake up in the middle of it, and they're experimenting on you. Like, what if they're trying to? Just imagine you get kidnapped, but you don't know it because it happens in your sleep, and you're drugged in your sleep or gassed or something, right? So you don't wake up. But then in the middle of some organ harvesting situation, you wake up, and then you get knocked back out. But in order to mask or to screen that memory of you having been kidnapped and having your organs harvested or your blood taken or whatever it is that your kidnappers are doing, or whatever the hell the aliens are doing, they implant a screen memory that matches the emotions. So yeah, you're still going to feel the emotions that you did, but it'll just be connected to some nightmare you had. However, the problem that has come up with myself and a lot of other people is that the memory cap, whatever it is, I'm using terminology from different popular media. There was a movie that came out a long time ago called Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they remade it with Colin Farrell, however you pronounce his name. But in Total Recall, they used a memory cap for people when they implanted memories on them so that they wouldn't remember their life before. And so in a similar fashion, the aliens use a memory cap to block the actual memory, and then they provide a screen memory so that you remember that instead of the abduction. And so this is, these experiences are terrible. They're not good. They haven't been good for me. And when I started doing research, a lot of people have had terrible experiences being abducted. And so what I'm doing now is talking about the self-defense and the counterattacks against these extraterrestrial space alien abductors. So, very simply, I said this before in the previous 2 podcasts about this subject, one was how to assassinate extraterrestrial space alien kidnappers and abductors. Part 2 is called Assassinating Extraterrestrial Space Aliens, Metatron. And this one, and I didn't get to finish talking about that, but much sooner here in this one, I'm just going to start and tell what is the self-defense, okay? So, what kind of self-defense am I talking about against space alien abductors? So, this is based on something that you can do or that any person can use when they're having a certain type of parasomnia, a certain type of sleep pathology. Because, and I'm not going to get too much into the background of this again, but another thing that these aliens use as part of the whole screen memory process, or part of the whole masking of what's actually happening, is a lot of times they carry out these abductions while people are sleeping, or while people are drunk or drugged, so that the visions, so that the memories that they have can be attributed to the unconscious, drugged, or drunken state. Because these states are easily called into question in our current society of what people find to be acceptable. Oh, you were drunk. Oh, you were on drugs. Oh, you were sleeping. Okay? And so one of the things that happens to people sometimes, and it's happened to me, is sleep paralysis, where you become aware of something happening and you feel like you're being restrained, and so you cannot move. At one point you're sleeping, the next thing you know you wake up, but your body can't move. And it feels like there's an invisible presence there, and it feels horrifying when you can't move. Now, of course, there are medical issues that many doctors and scientists will tell you that can cause sleep paralysis, or simply the fact that a person becomes conscious before the biochemicals wear off that helps to relax your muscles so that you don't flail around and kick around while you're having dreams, acting out your dreams. Sort of like what happens to sleepwalkers. They full on get out and start doing things in their sleep. And then the other thing is sleep apnea, where a person cannot breathe. And of course, once again, there are medical reasons that you will be told about this. And I'm not completely convinced that all of these things are just medical issues. But again, a lot of them can be, and people can be monitored by the aliens for when they're having these sleep episodes, these parasomnias, these parasomnic episodes, and they choose to then abduct, kidnap these people, me included, when we're having these episodes. And so the self-defense against this is one of the first things that's a problem, is not being able to breathe. Not being able to breathe is a terrifying experience when it first happens. But I'll tell you that with practice of the first part of the self-defense, eventually the fear of terror and helplessness, which is a big part of it, the helplessness, goes away. And so the first thing to do, the first step in the self-defense, is to be aware enough to inhale, to breathe in, just in the same way as if you were to dive into water. Most people wouldn't dive in without taking a deep breath in first, so that you have the breath to be able to swim around under the water, or at least get back to the surface where you can breathe again. If you go under the water, of course, without taking a deep breath in, and you have to be submerged for a little while, it can be very, very uncomfortable because you can't breathe. Your body feels like it's going to die. It's very difficult, and yes, your body is getting close to, you can pass out and you can drown. So in the same way, the first part of self-defense is to start to practice. The first thing is to breathe in deeply as you can, if not through your nose, in through your mouth. Just suck as much breath in and hold it. It sounds oversimplified, doesn't it? But that is actually a very powerful tool in self-defense when these things happen. Please make sure that you hold on to that idea. Some people will dismiss it, but instead of dismissing it, accept and embrace that little piece of information right there. Breathe in. That's number one. The second thing you can do in self-defense is to make your abductors, your attackers, know, and let them know in no uncertain terms that you don't like what's happening, and that you're totally against it, and that you're uncomfortable and you don't want it. And some ways to do that are by, once you take that breath in, you can do your best to yell at them. Yell at obscenities if you want to. Or instructions, commands. Get off of me. Leave me alone. I don't want this. I don't like this. Similar to if you were being attacked by anyone, or if someone were doing or trying to take advantage of you in any way. Let them know. Stop this. Get off of me. I don't want this. Let me go. Release me. And do it aggressively. The next part is, if you're not physically incapacitated, being restrained, or if you are as well, because I've done this as well, start attacking. Kick if you can. Punch if you can. Bite if you can. Claw. Aim for the eyes. Aim for the little mouth. Aim for the head. Just try to snap their little arms. Try to jam your fingers into their abdomen, their thorax area. Somehow aggressive. Anything that you can. So those are the three parts of self-defense. First, breathe in, so you have that breath, and this is helpful for whether you're experiencing sleep apnea or not. The second thing is to make noise, to yell at them, stop, get off of me, I don't want this, I don't like this, release me. And the third part is to attack, punch, kick, claw, scratch, bite. And all of these things can be done together. Make sure you get that breath in so you have that energy to attack and to move. So that is the first part of the self-defense against extraterrestrial space aliens. Okay. Next part. Counter attack. And this can also be attack. So the counter attack and the attack can be the same thing. Now I talked about punching, kicking, clawing, scratching, and biting, right? Those are, in a way, that's a bridge to the counterattack. So that's why it's also the third part, right? First, breathe in, Second, command, you don't want the situation to be happening. And third, punch, kick, claw, scratch, bite. Okay? And bridging over to another kind of attack. Now this one may take a little bit of you to open your mind a bit, because this one is more metaphysical than it is the physical self-defense that I gave you. Because this one calls for you to send what might be considered to be a psychic attack to these beings that are committing these abductions and kidnappings and experimentation. And this falls under the category of remote viewing coupled with remote influencing, and a very specific way of doing this. So the remote viewing is to first to be able to locate your target. Just locate the extraterrestrial space aliens. Those are your targets. Those are our targets. That's what we're attacking and counterattacking. So you have to view them, get an idea in your mind. If you can remember also the situation where you were abducted or attacked or experimented on, even better, because you focus on that image, and that's where you direct your attack. Now remember, I had mentioned Metatron's cube. So if you have like a pendant or a charm or like a pyramid or any type of any modality, any decor or any piece of clothing that has this Metatron's cube printed on it, or if you have something that has this type of sacred geometry on it, you can use this as something that you can help to collect and gather your energy and focus it through, and to concentrate that energy with which to fire like a laser beam through your mind, to help concentrate and focus it and turn it into a weapon against the extraterrestrials, against the aliens. And so another way that you can do this is also with the technology that I'm playing in the background. This is one of my DemiPhase or demi-cerebral neurophasing productions. It's a frequency formula that I created based off of the work of the Monroe Institute, or HemiSync is what their brand is. It's called HemiSync, which is short for hemispheric synchronization. But in order to make both sides of your brain work together so that you can allow your attack to not only be a physical attack from your mind, but it can transcend space and time and break the barrier and cross over into other dimensions or a psychic realm or another realm where these extraterrestrial space aliens may be parked or residing because they're aboard some kind of craft that's orbiting the Earth, or they're even back on their home planet or in another dimension that's parallel with our own. But they're somehow able to attack you, and as we've seen from a lot of the so-called lack of evidence, where people aren't able to video or photograph the creatures or the craft that they're in, it's because there's some type of technology they're using that is like teleportation, could be time travel, wormholes, some type of technology, but it's also an immaterial or non-physical or interdimensional type of technology. And so by using the shape of Metatron's cube, and there are many other tools in sacred geometry that you can use. I mean, you can use simply a six-sided star, also known as the Star of David, or you could use a pentacle or pentagram, or even just a cube, a tesseract. You can use so many different shapes. The thing is, what you have to understand is that these tools, these shapes that you use, are simply conduits for your own energy, the potential that we all have to transcend from the physical world and beyond. You can call it a psychic attack if you want, and I'll use that term for now. But so that is part of the attack and counterattack. And the thing is, now here's what's very important. When you're doing these attacks, you have to imagine, you have to think about the type of destruction, the type of pain and death that you want to inflict upon these creatures, these aliens that have attacked you, that have abducted you, that have kidnapped you, that have experimented on, that have hurt you, that have terrorized you. You have to be very clear. You want to see their head explode. You want to gouge their eyes out. You want to hear them scream if they have a scream. You want to decapitate them, break their limbs, smash them, crush them, set them on fire, stab them. I know, it's very violent. It's very violent. But they have to know in no uncertain terms that we do not want this. And that if supposedly, like a lot of people say in the ufology and extraterrestrial research communities, that a lot of these beings are here for our best interests, that they want to stop us from nuclear annihilation, from blowing ourselves up with nuclear weapons, that they want to help us to maintain and preserve our environment because we're polluting everything, that they want to help us to stop from destroying each other, that we are so full of war and we're killing each other, and they want to help us, which they're not wrong about. Those things need to be addressed. But I'm not convinced that the extraterrestrials, at least most of them, are here with our best interest. Some of them are. I'm pretty sure of that. I've had an encounter with at least one that had my best interest in heart. But all of the other ones, all of the other experiences I've had, terrible. Very uncomfortable, very unwelcome experiences. I'm not about it. I don't want it. I'm not having it. And, you know, I've had less and less of the experiences, but when they do happen, I'm more empowered, and they're starting to realize that I'm not one to be messed with, because I do not just freeze. I do not try to run away. I attack. I defend myself, and I want to destroy them. And now I'm talking about with using Metatron's cube or other tools from sacred geometry, along with my DemiPhase technology. You can listen to a frequency formula that I can create. It's an audio meditation. I'll put a link to one of them that you'll use. One of the latest ones that I used is called DemiPhase 11.1. That's a very powerful universal one. So I'll put a link to that in this podcast, this Uniquilibrium podcast. And eventually, when I get around to making the blog for it, it'll be there on uniquilibrium.com, and you'll be able to listen to that, and you can get your mindset. And the whole time while you're listening to it, you can be imagining the kind of destruction that you want to rain upon these extraterrestrial space alien abductors, these invaders, these infiltrators. You know, and regardless whatever anybody wants to say about it, some people have said that they're here to do experiments on us, just like in the same way that human beings experiment on laboratory animals. And I don't agree with the experimentation on laboratory animals. Now, however you feel about that, that's up to you. But you should know that these laboratory animals don't want to be experimented on. They don't want to have needles poked into them. They don't want to have stuff poured into their eyes. They don't want to be forced to drink things that have chemicals in it. It's not a comfortable life. Okay? So you could be for or against it, and yeah, the scientists and the people, researchers doing it, are supposedly also doing it for the best interest of mankind, to make sure that products and things are safe for us to consume. And who else or what else are they gonna, experiment on? So they say, so they do it to animals who didn't give consent for this. And in the same way, I'm not giving my consent to these aliens to take me away and to do any type of experimentation on me. It's unwelcome. And this is the same feeling that a lot of people have who claim that it's happened to. And again, I'm going to wrap this up, but self-defense and attacks and counterattacks. So the self-defense is, you can practice while you're awake as well, breathing meditation. But then if you happen to not be able to breathe, or you feel scared while you're sleeping, learn how to take a deep breath in. It's actually more difficult to inhale than it is to exhale when you're having a sleep apnea. That's why it's called sleep apnea. It's a failure to breathe. It's difficulty breathing. So the first thing is to take in breath. You need the breath. You need the breath to energize you and to have life and to have strength to fight. The second thing is to make a sound. I use like death metal growls because I used to be a death metal singer in a death metal band, and I still do some recordings every once in a while. Oh, this bird part of this recording is kind of loud, but it was cool when I recorded it. Anyway, so the second part is to growl, to let them know that this is unwelcome. I don't want this. Please stop. Let me go. Release me. Fuck off. Right? And then and then to attack, to punch, kick, claw, bite. So that's the self-defense part. And then bridging over into counterattacks, you can focus and concentrate. And this could be any time afterwards, when you're more in the right mind, when you have time to sit and meditate, to listen to one of the recordings. Like I said, I'm recommending using DemiPhase 11.1, and then I'm actually going to create a more specific frequency that's going to be actually tuned into the Metatron's cube to focus the energy to attack them. So I'm going to basically construct a weapon. I'm going to construct a psychic energy weapon to attack these aliens wherever they may be. And again, the way to focus on them is by using a remote viewing, where you locate them, you imagine them, you see them, okay, and then you remote influence by sending an energy attack, which you see the destruction, that you see the attack that you want to have happen upon them. You see the pain, the death, the attack that you want to have happen. Like I said, you want to see them crushed, smashed, their heads explode, set them on fire, watch them burn to death, decapitate them, or dismember them somehow. I mean, there's no reason to be nice about it. And people are going to think, look, people think that anybody who claims to have had any type of close encounters of any kind, there's a whole bunch of people who are going to say that they're crazy to begin with. And those folks, to you, you're closed-minded. And, I wish that it had never happened. It doesn't make me feel special. It doesn't make me feel good. I don't like it. And maybe I'd feel special and I'd feel good about it if they were coming here and teaching me all the specifics about how, like, I want to go on adventures. I want to travel through space. I want to go through different planets. I want to hang out on the moon. I want to go see the rings of Saturn. Like, how beautiful will that be, right? Like, going on a cruise on a ship. People go out to different countries to the sea, or people go scuba diving, and snorkeling to see the reefs and see different kinds of aquatic life. That's awesome. If these beings were coming and being like, hey, you want to come check out, look at the technology you have. You want to come check out space? It's awesome. I'd feel special if they were singling me and some other people out for this. But that's not what's happening. It feels really screwed up. So, anyway, that's it. This background recording, Hana no Seishin, Floor Spirit, or the spirit of the flower, my beloved Flor Elizabeth Carrasco, who passed away on October 24th, 2019. I make a lot of them for her so that I can transcend the veil and have experiences with her, and to visit, to enter the realm of souls. It's about to end in about a minute, so I'm going to end this, but you got everything, right? The self-defense, breathe in, let them know you don't want it, punch, kick, claw, bite, and then attack with the energy weapon. I'm recommending one based on Metatron's cube. And for now, I'm recommending you listen to the recording called DemiPhase 11.1 and how you carry your counterattacks. And they don't have to be counterattacks. You can be proactive. I recommend it. They want to start a war? All right, they got one. You want a war? I'll bring you back to war. And I may be a casualty of war. But I'm not going to sit back and just be a victim. It's not going to be a victim. All right, listeners all around the world, thanks for joining me for another adventure with metaphysical hypnosis and meditation. Your continued support is always welcome. And if you're excited about the great offerings here that help you relax, sleep, lucid dream, learn, and beyond, then support the creation of many more metaphysical hypnosis and meditation productions by becoming a monthly contributor. You can support these adventures with a subscription by going to uniquequilibrium.com and simply clicking on the link that says Uniquequilibrium Supporters, and there you will find links that you can support through Anchor, through PayPal, or through LiberaPay.
You've been listening to the Uniquilibrium podcast by Hypno Athletics, Exercising Your Mind. My name is Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander. I'm your host and guide, and I will catch you on the next wave. Stay well.